Okay, AOC finally responded proudly concerning a high school yearbook photo that proves she grew up in a wealthy suburb. She said, "See, I told you I went to high school."
And I can tell you, I know that when I was waitressing and struggling to put food on the table, for a while there, I did. I tried to stop caring. I tried to just keep my head down, work my shifts, and accept that this is just how things are. But that is no way to live, Arizona. It's no way to live. What I do know is that we don't have to live like this. And in fact, we cannot live like this anymore.
Kelly fired back at AOC's political theatrics with sharp humor and spot-on timing. She didn't hold back, calling out the pricey stunts, the dramatic posing, and those over-the-top viral moments AOC loves to showcase. Nothing slipped past her, whether it was shaky economic claims or emotional TikTok moments. The whole exchange felt like watching AOC's carefully polished image crumble right in front of everyone. People expected AOC to clap back, but instead she was left stunned, unsure, and completely out of answers.
Sense from like AOC that he should be impeached is just absurd. Absurd. There's no... Okay, get back to me when you've read the Constitution or get a law degree, because you sound like an... There is absolutely no ground to impeach the president. He 100% moves within his constitutional authority and his congressionally authorized authority to do what he did on Saturday.
AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a, a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions.
Greg Gutfeld joined in without hesitation. Just hearing AOC's name seemed to spark a wave of jokes in his mind, like someone had switched on a never-ending comedy switch. It instantly lifted his mood, giving him endless lines to play with. To Greg, AOC wasn't only a public official, she was a constant source of material he couldn't ignore.
Like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983. So their problem is, and the reason why they don't have any ideas is they operate on half opinions.
Greg reacted with a confused, "What?" before teasing her for treating every Instagram live like a national broadcast made for her ring lights and pets. He joked that AOC could sit with actual specialists and still walk away mixing random buzzwords into something that sounded smart but didn't truly land. He compared her ideas to warmed-up leftovers from old campus protests, served as politics but not quite solid enough to trust. His point was clear. Her confident delivery often hid how shaky the message really was.
So by now you heard that AOC, among others, were arrested last night. She truly is an American hero. It was brutal, taken out in cuffs. Well, technically her shirt had cuffs. Maybe French cuffs, as she did surrender.
He then poked fun at her flair for drama, saying AOC treats every hallway in the Capitol like a spotlight and turns tiny arguments into oversized scenes. Greg joked that she handles real laws the way a reality show contestant handles a chaotic group project. Loud, confused, and convinced she's the hero even when everything is falling apart. In his roast, she was always ready for a dramatic moment, even when the moment didn't call for one.
Oh, let's do it. What happens? You have repeat criminals wreaking havoc. What if we have sanctuary cities? Hey, let's do it. What happens? Finding sanctuary, safe haven. What if we give trans rights? Oh, you just ruined women's sports. You ruined safe spaces. You made kids' lives hell.
When Greg shifted to AOC's policy plans, he didn't hold back. He picked apart her biggest proposals, describing them as a mix of unrealistic dreams and ideas that worked against basic economics. He joked that the Green New Deal felt like a rushed 7th grade science project, flashy decorations, bright colors, and nothing solid behind it. He compared her way of building policies to putting together IKEA furniture without reading the instructions, then blaming the chair when it collapses. His message was simple. The dramatic delivery couldn't hide how often the details were missing.
It's a beautiful little town called Yorktown Heights in Westchester. It's not the fanciest of Westchester towns, but it ain't the Bronx by any measure. And the reason this is relevant is because a congresswoman, who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl and we eat queen."
Greg also teased her for spending more time recording videos than a nonstop influencer, all while ignoring important facts. He imagined her team meetings as odd performances filled with filters, trendy slogans, and someone complaining about emissions while snapping selfies in an SUV. And then there were the emotional moments. Greg joked that every vote she disliked turned into a full-blown stage performance, complete with shaky voice, long pauses, and dramatic lighting. If she didn't get her way, it wasn't just disagreement, it became a grand crisis meant to draw as much attention as possible. Megyn Kelly entered with a completely different style, quiet, precise, and far more cutting. She calmly pulled apart AOC's carefully built public image, layer after layer, like peeling an onion that only became sadder as it came apart. Megyn questioned the idea of AOC's intelligence, pointing out that her speeches sounded like half-finished talking points delivered with the confidence of someone who skimmed an online summary and mistook it for true expertise. She argued that AOC's passionate tone couldn't cover the lack of structure and depth expected from a serious leader.
But if her pants had cuffs, she would have pretended to be in leg irons too. But real handcuffs, not so much. But that didn't stop her from pretending. And I hate it when people do this to me. When I ask people to put on handcuffs and they say, "I'll just pretend I have them on," I'd be like, "Sure, and I'll pretend to pay you after."
Megyn continued by calling out AOC's habit of replacing real information with bursts of moral outrage. She explained that AOC treats every disagreement as proof that someone must be a villain in her dramatic worldview, instead of simply seeing it as a normal difference in opinion. Megyn noted that the real world isn't a comic book with heroes and enemies, though AOC seemed too busy planning another protest in her office to notice. Megyn then pointed out how the group's over-the-top, performance-style politics often pushed actual lawmaking to the side. She joked that AOC didn't debate while live streaming. She performed, as if she had stepped onto a stage with a script designed only for boosting her likes. Even her press conferences, Megyn said, looked more like taped auditions than serious political communication. Megyn also questioned how someone who claimed deep concern for the environment could travel so often that she collected more miles than a DJ on tour. She teased AOC's climate messaging for having the depth of a bumper sticker and the reliability of a weather drawing made with crayons. To Megyn, AOC turned policy discussions into endless spoken word rants built for viral applause. Every line exaggerated, every issue a personal mission, and every critic treated as a dramatic threat.
And respectfully, AOC, well, that's real cute, except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5, when at best you're in usually kindergarten, maybe first grade. And she spent the rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. And by any measure, it is richer, nicer, and more white collar than the Bronx with all.
She didn't stop there. Megyn poked fun at AOC's constant reminders of her humble past, saying she had turned her old bartending job into a superhero-style origin story, almost as if she crafted her own hardships just to make her rise seem epic. Megyn joked that AOC's next slogan might be, "From cocktails to Congress, fearless in heels." Greg jumped back in as well, pointing to AOC's ongoing battles with the media and her struggle to face reality. He joked that she reacts to fact checks as though they're personal attacks, behaving like someone who believes being asked a question is the same as being wronged. He compared her responses to a child denied candy, loud, upset, and absolutely sure she'd been treated unfairly. Although AOC presented herself as a voice for ordinary people, Greg mocked her for treating TikTok creators, loud Twitter users, and sidewalk activists as her stand-ins instead of talking to real communities. He even teased her red carpet appearances, calling her headline-making outfits fashion statements delivered with the softness of a jackhammer, and wondered why someone who claimed to champion working families spent so much time getting ready for glossy magazine moments.
Now some of her schoolmates, separate and apart from Benny, are weighing in on her claims. I'll get to the Benny thing in 1 second, but there was a piece in the New York Post talking about how she's embarrassing herself. She's embarrassing herself now with this Bronx girl.
Greg joked that AOC tried to play a modern-day Robin Hood while wearing expensive shoes, distracting from real issues with comments that sounded like tweets polished with a thesaurus. Meanwhile, Megyn stepped forward again to highlight even more contradictions within AOC's public persona. She listed how AOC constantly promoted empowerment while refusing responsibility, demanded accountability while dodging it herself, and praised transparency while avoiding any interview without pre-approved questions. Megyn argued that AOC switched between bold leader and fragile victim, depending on what looked better on camera. She said AOC treated capitalism like a forbidden monster, reducing difficult topics into catchy slogans and acting like anyone asking for details was blocking progress. Every economic concern, Megyn added, became an excuse to skip the math and blame wealthy people instead. She compared AOC's political approach to running a student club: big ideas, loud excitement, posters everywhere, but once the snacks were gone, nothing actually happened.
First, AOC was mocked on social media for imitating being handcuffed, which is a change from her usually being mocked for imitating a congresswoman. That's not even close to being as disgusting as I can be. She, in fact, was gingerly escorted away to a holding area where she kept up the phony display before finally raising her fist to supporters. She then crossed her wrists behind her back, again in the faux handcuffed position. It's as tall a tale as AOC nearly...
Greg jumped back in, calling AOC the queen of delayed memories, teasing her for only recalling dramatic stories whenever they matched trending headlines. He poked fun at her emotional flashback moments, saying they felt more like theater scenes than real recollections. If there were awards for unplanned political drama, Greg said she'd win easily and give herself the most emotional thank you speech. He also mocked her foreign policy style as gloomy lectures about America with no real solutions, imagining her trying to fix global problems using vegan recipes and inspirational quotes, as if passion alone could rewrite history. Megyn smoothly stepped in again, pointing out AOC's shift from fiery activist to comfortable insider. She described it as the political version of crashing a party and then complaining loudly about the music she picked. Megyn said AOC wanted the glory of rebellion and the safety of power at the same time, without choosing either.
AOC was on 60 Minutes last night. Quite a feat for a newcomer. Must be all her great new ideas.
People are going to have to start paying their fair share in taxes. Once you get to like the tippy tops, on your $10 millionth dollar, sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 or 70%.
What an expression. Now, the real story isn't AOC's very old ideas. It's the media's gushy view of her. Even with her old ideas, she gets...
Megyn poked fun at AOC's constant photo moments, dramatic reactions, and the never-ending cycle of emotional videos that always seem to end with a donation link. She said AOC turned her role in Congress into an ongoing show where she cast herself as the misunderstood hero, bravely battling reality. Both Gutfeld and Kelly agreed that AOC wasn't some surprising new force. She was a carefully crafted brand sold as a revolution, powered more by strong Wi-Fi than by real results. Instead of viewing her as intimidating, they saw her as predictable: a rotating wardrobe, a memorized script, and a protest sign wearing designer shoes. Greg joked that if AOC were given a week to write a bill, she'd return with spoken word poetry and a soundtrack, using glitter pens and TikTok videos to try to pass legislation. He insisted she didn't represent the future. She marked a turning point where politics risked becoming entertainment. Megyn ended her roast by saying AOC's biggest challenge wouldn't be critics, but time itself. Slogans lose their spark, hashtags fade, and eventually people want real progress. When that moment comes, she said, AOC will learn that likes don't pass laws, retweets don't fix roads, and emotional videos can't replace actual work.
Let's check in on AOC and see what she has to say.
Any quick reaction on what's going on with Elon Musk and President Trump on Twitter right now?
Oh man, the girls are fighting, aren't they? I think this breakup we've been seeing a long time coming, but we'll see what the impacts are of it legislatively.
Okay. You're so cool referring to them as the girls. She's above it all, Ben. That's what she's trying to telegraph. You see, she's the adult in the room, the one out there who does a preacher accent, and she leans into her fake Latina accent. And like she's...
With AOC still in the spotlight, both comedians made it clear the roast wasn't over. The crowd kept cheering even without knowing the full story. Greg leaned in again, pointing out that AOC's greatest political skill seemed to be turning every policy talk into an episode of political theater, complete with costumes, props, and dramatic speeches that thrilled people who barely understood the details. He joked that she could take the smallest complaint and turn it into a national disaster, transforming a comment about a pothole into an emotional conversation about injustice and whether the pavement had privilege. Greg questioned AOC's leadership style by joking that in a real emergency, she'd show up late, unprepared, and overly dramatic, like a firefighter arriving at a burning house with only a scented candle and a vlog camera to record her reaction. He said her supporters watched everything she did like it was snack-worthy entertainment, and that she focused more on storytelling than on offering real solutions. Megyn Kelly stepped in again, pointing out how AOC often delivered moral lectures while skipping the practical steps needed to solve actual problems. Megyn joked that AOC was the type of leader who would lecture someone about recycling a single straw while secretly flying off to her next big event. She highlighted AOC's selective outrage, noting how quickly she became fired up over trending topics while overlooking the tough, everyday responsibilities of governing. With a sly smile, Megyn added that AOC's biggest worry wasn't being wrong, it was becoming irrelevant. Silence to AOC didn't mean reflection, it meant failure. And as long as there were cameras, arguments, or scripted lines ready, Megyn said AOC would never stop talking, no matter who was still paying attention.